All right, guys, this is Aston Mac TV on the run again. We are on set in front of a community garden run by this guy. If you don't mind, for my audience, go ahead and give your name and pronouns.
Hi, my name is Hippie Malone. He, him. Um,
Yeah, okay. Well, if you want to, I don't mean to dead name you, Tim Whitaker, but we all know who you are. Yeah. So a little bit of background from this guy. This is a guy that I met. We've been saying, and you guys have been crying out for some time. Hey, what are the local activists in Orlando like? What are the local activists in Orlando like? We want to see them. Well, here's one of the guys that I can tell you shows up at at every opportunity. Why don't you give us a little bit of your history and how you got into this?
well, first of all, I don't even consider myself an activist, bro. I'm just the guy who really cares, bro. Like, that's my thing, man. I'm adopted by a black family, small town in Georgia. My logistics were different growing up because I tell people all the time, I had two sets of eyes. I have my white eyes, and I actually have my family's eyes that they were, blessed enough to take me in and give me. And I grew up, I seen a lot. I told you stories. My mom literally had to carry my birth certificate. People used to say she kidnapped me. I've had old white women come up to my mom, give her $20, go get this boy a haircut. What? So, like, as you grow older, you start seeing more and more things. And I never pictured that last year would be the year I actually be a protester. Like, I never planned none of this. It just, life happened. You feel me?
I definitely understand, and I think that you're hitting on something kind of important. I think you and I actually had this conversation the other day, which is like, what's an activist? What does that even mean?
To me, it's somebody who truly cares and isn't doing this for clout, bro. Like, I've met a lot of people who won't do an event if there's not X amount of numbers there. But then I've met people who, oh, well, you're going? Let's go together, bro. It's just two of us. Like, come on, how many days have me and you stood out there in Castleberry by ourselves?
Fair.
Like, come on, like, being an activist is just a label, because technically, if someone from a middle class suburban neighborhood comes to one protest, you can slap a label and say they're an activist when really they're just a participant in a bigger movement.
I think that's a lot of the problem when a lot of us try to. When a lot of, especially the media, tries to label what is BLM, what does it mean to be part of the civil rights movement? I hate the fact that our civil rights movement's even called BLM, because that's something that's only existed for the last, like, what, 10 years, versus the civil rights movement started like 400 years ago.
And not even that. My thing is, bro, none of the people I hang with, we don't like BLM. Matter of fact, there's not even a BLM chapter in Central Florida. Like, everybody I know is grassroots organization. We got Off, we got Reach, we got the homie Taj and that works for Florida Student Power. We have, like, these are the organizations I've seen. I haven't met a BLM member in Central Florida. That might just be me.
Well, it gets a little weird too, because, like, we've worked with the BLM Tampa before, and they say that they're not connected to the larger organization. But I found on their Facebook they have the BlackLivesMatter.com on their website. But it's confusing out here, because at the end of the day, it's a decentralized movement, and that's why I think it's important to put some faces, like, so that you guys know, instead of the few people that they'll quote on CNN and the same three faces that you'll see whenever they want to say that they represent the movement. Let me put on a face of somebody that's actually out there all the time, and that's what you are. Um, you talked a little bit about your background. Can you talk a little bit more about how you came up? I think that's a really important story.
Well, as I was saying, I was adopted by a black family. I entered foster care when I was 3 years old. My mom had a severely bad drug habit. So I bounced around from 3 to 8, 25 different foster homes. It really warped my perception of reality, because, I mean, I'm a lost child if you look at it. I didn't have a home, so I seen the world through a broken lens for so long. And then when I was 8, the family that adopted me, shout out my mom, my dad, Stephen for Honda Whitaker, I love them to death. They took me in. They didn't have to take me in. Like, they went through so much racism for taking a white child in a small town in Georgia that They didn't have to. So, like, I've always said this, for them to take that risk to raise me, to make sure I'm here, it's only right that I fight for them. You feel me? I continue basically with my dad. My dad's a preacher. My dad's always taught me right from wrong. So, like, basically, you bred me from this moment. Since you adopted me, you drilled into me that I should always stand up for right.
And what's interesting is, would you say that a lot of people that are out there protesting are actually like directly affected by a lot of the stuff that we're protesting for? I mean, you yourself, you've been without a home at certain points in your life. You've seen police brutality, police violence left and right. I mean, a lot of it's out of necessity, wouldn't you say?
I mean, we've had this conversation. Our whole movement is dripped in trauma. Like, everybody I met, white or black, and like I I don't want to say get along, but I have a problem associating with white people because of the way I was raised. But the more I got to hang around white people throughout this movement, I was learning. I always, the first thing I ask a white protester is like, yo, why are you out here? I want to know why you're out here, because I know why I'm out here. And I want to know why you're out here. What ties do you have to this? And a lot of them, oh, well, I can relate to this part. I can relate to this part. And every part they relate to is trauma. And the whole thing is, if all these people are affected by the same trauma, bro, the problem has to be the same. And if these white people are saying they're affected by this trauma, I can only imagine the black people that are affected by the same problems, the same trauma, get it twice as rough.
That's a really good point. That police brutality, especially being one of the things that we're out there for, I want to make sure we understand that we don't pigeonhole the BLM movement to just be about police brutality. But if we are going to talk about that, I mean, I've seen us march for white people just like we've marched for black people now.
I mean, that's what people fail to understand is, dog, police brutality is not a black and white issue, bro. It's a working class American issue, because the police have, and this has been proven since whatever. Police is always going to protect the property. They're never going to protect us. I mean, who employs the police? The state. What's the state going to look out for? The state's going to look out for itself.
Has the state ever? I mean, you've been through it. I mean, you've talked about going through the foster system. I mean, I imagine, did the state decide to give you any support?
Man, them folks were happy when I got adopted, bro. Because, I mean, if you want to look at it from the social worker standpoint, I'm just a case off her desk. I'm just another child she doesn't have to worry about. And truth be told, if you want to look at it from their point of view, I'm just a loss of income for them at the same time. Because I've told you what defects tried to do with my family.
No, go ahead and explain.
When I was, as I said, I was with this family since I was 8. Well, in the 6th grade, they came, never talked to me or my parents. They just showed up one day. Yeah, we think we got a family to adopt you. So you got to think, this is after 4 or 5 years of staying with this family. And I'm like, all right, I thought this family was going to adopt me. Whatever. Guess what color the family was that wanted to adopt me? White. Yeah, let me tell you, long story short, it came out in so many words that DFAC says we like to keep white kids with white families and black kids with black families. So basically, they took me from the first real stable situation I had in my life. For the first time in my 12-year-old life, or however I was in 6th grade. And y'all uprooted me for that because y'all fought. Instead of going off of experiences, bro. Like, what other legit reason would you have to move me from this family that ain't did nothing but take care of me? As a matter of fact, DFAX lied to this family. Said I was only supposed to stay with this family for a weekend. Well, shit, 22 years later, this is a long weekend.
I love, you love to hear it, and the unfortunate truth is, does that not speak to the racism that's baked into the institutions that we exist, that we live in. That they were literally willing to take you out of a family. And we were actually just talking about this, and the other day I actually had a psychologist on, and we were talking about contact theory, right? And contact theory says that the way that you stop othering the other is you meet them on equal footing. You actually interact with them as equals, and then on top of that, work with them with common goals. There's a reason why you're in this fight with us.
I mean, so I look at it like this, bro. A lot of white people are scared of black people because they have no contact with them, like you just said. And so, like, you have people that have a black friend, those type of people. They're basing you off of their one black friend. You feel me? And it's like, no, bro. You need to know more. You need to get deeper into this, bro. Because the more you're around people, the more you understand them. Like, my situation is worse. You put me in a room full of white people, I'm gonna feel uncomfortable. Cause like just 2-3 years ago, I found out white women wear weave, and I'm like, what? Like, come on, like, so. But if you put me in a room full of black people, you done seen this. I'm right at home with myself because that's the environment I'm comfortable with. And if you're not willing to step outside of your comfort zone and your environment to learn your next man, your fellow working class brother or sister or person, let me just say person, then truthfully you're a cancer. Like, because that behavior is gonna keep up the shenanigans we have today.
Now, what you're hitting on is something interesting, because a lot of conservatives, a lot of people that like to attack the movement, they do what we like to call white panic, right? They think that everybody is out there for retribution, that this is about punishing white people. But here you are, a blue-eyed, blonde-haired white man, and have you ever felt in the movement like we hated you, or that did you feel any sort of hate because of your skin color?
I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro. My friends, the people that took the time, the people I seen the most, no. Now, you do have the one or two people that have came up to me. You remember the situation I was telling you about, the female that came up to me saying, hey, I see you support Black lives, but don't you think you should consider cutting your hair? I've had people come to me like that. And that's a whole nother conversation for a different subject. But I've also had people, when I first started coming out, the people that I grew into becoming friends, they thought I was a cop. Which, that's completely hilarious in itself.
To be fair, they thought I was a cop, so I don't know if that's a white thing.
I thought you was a cop, too. Look, I ain't gonna lie. You pronounce some words too fine for me. But overall, no. I've like, legit, this is my second family. If it was not for the people I met last year in Orlando, I don't think I'd be here, bro. Like, I've literally had people... Bro, my brother died this year, and I've had people that I protested with literally raise money so I could go see my brother, bro. Like, I lost my job. You remember I lost my job in January, and the people I met through this movement kept me afloat until I found a new job. So, like, I've experienced nothing but love, and this is a family to me. And of course, you have your simple riffs and raps, what, but that's a family all in all. But all in all, as a white male, I felt love about the people. Like, I ain't gonna lie.
And it's true. I've seen you, and on the flip side, I've seen you give it back. You're at every time somebody's trying to hand out a meal, or somebody's trying to hand out a toy, you're there. So, I mean, the community loves you, and they definitely respect you. And I'm glad. I just really want to make it a point that this isn't a color motivated movement. Just because we pay attention to race and we understand racial dynamics doesn't mean that we're racial abolitionists. We don't believe in the race divides. Speaking of that, one of the biggest discourses online, I want to get your take on this right now, is a couple of Twitch streamers were banned. They were banned for saying a specific word. We're gonna call it the bread slur. That thing that you put cheese on? Yeah. So they got banned for the word, and it sparked up a lot of discourse over the word. A lot of people saying things like it's just like the N-word. What do you feel about that?
I mean, technically, bro, if you want to ban someone for saying the C word, but you've never banned anyone for saying the other word.
Oh, they have.
They have?
Don't get me wrong.
Oh, okay. You know, I was finna get into, like, that kind of shows who they care more feelings about. But I've noticed this with a certain group of people. They're trying to say the word Karen as a slur now. So, like, I look at it like this. A certain group of people want to be oppressed so bad that they're literally looking for any and other things, because if you really know the definition of that word, it's not good or bad. It was actually your job title. They got the name from the sound of a whip cracking. Like, come on, bro. That's the title of that said person. It just got passed down generation.
So why do you feel it's different? Because it is a pejorative based on people's race, but there's something different happening, right? When somebody uses the N-word versus when somebody uses the bread slur, right? Because
a black man's never called a white man the bread slur, then hung him up a tree. If you want to be real technical, black man ain't never called a white man that and hung him up a tree. But I can show you hundreds of years of history where white people have said the other word and then strung black people up a tree. So it's like, yeah, your word doesn't have the harmful impact in history than the other word has.
You know, it's interesting that we talk about impact. The real world consequences of this sort of racism and this sort of hate. You get it a lot because I mean, I'm going to just call it what it is. You're a white person in what's perceived to be a black person's movement. And I know that means you get it a lot from your own people calling you a traitor, all these different things. In fact, weren't you the first person targeted when the protest was attacked?
Man, you know, I've been ran over by a bike, and logistically speaking, you can't tell me homeboy did not choose to hit me, because I forgot the two people that were on my side, but I can tell you they weren't white, because I can tell you where the white people were during this very high tense moment.
Go ahead, walk us through the story.
So, we was at a protest in St. Cloud for Deshaun. I can't remember his name. It was a young kid. Anyway, his mom wanted it wasn't even really a protest. His mom wanted to do a memorial and balloon release. Just, you know, her son died, killed by the police. Regardless of what he did, he was killed by the police. That's why we were there. Police brutality. So what happens is we gather in the street. I should say that when we got there, as soon as we stepped out of the car in St. Cloud, we were watched. We were watched. Like, you know the feeling of being watched, and then you know when you see this person that's been standing here for 30 minutes not doing anything. So anyway, we moved from the original location to go to the park where we were supposed to gather. So we gather, go to the street. We ain't even been in the street literally 3 minutes, and the motorcycle gang pulls up with the police right behind them. So, like, we're already in the street. We do we stand like this. Buddy literally comes straight towards me and runs over my foot. So I put my hands out and I'm like, yo, hold up.
Hey, I want to clear something up, just for people that understand. When he says that we stand like this, it looked like you were locking arms. We weren't.
No.
The street wasn't blocked.
No. We were just standing like, hey, have a moment of respect for the dead. The same thing we would respect for you if you were honoring one of your fallen people, because you don't respect the dead. That's universal, right? So, like, that's really, don't. Anyway, so he runs over my foot, and I put my hands out like, hey, I touch his bike. Now, I'm not going to say that was an innocent move. I knew what I was doing. Biker law states if someone touches your bike, you have to fight them. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking of it. I just, hey, this guy hit my foot. I put my hands out. So he tries to stop the bike as he's kicking his kickstand. He's trying to kick me, get a rise. He sees that doesn't work. So then he gets off the bike, pushes me into a puddle, and starts to swing on me. My mindset is I'm worried about our narrative. So I'm like, yo, I'm not going to fight back. But after like 2-3 minutes of this, I look at my homeboy. My homeboy gives me one of those nods, and well, the rest is on video, man. Just know I am allegedly the leader of this gang by prison rules. They don't want to respect that, though, and I don't like that.
I mean, I do. I mean, the video is a little famous of you whooping bike leaders, but the truth of the matter is a lot of the menace in that situation was you guys were stalked online. These groups were looking and following your Facebook profiles, putting out word for your names. And what did the police do about this?
Nothing, man. Matter of fact, forget me and homeboy fighting, because technically a biker's from the street, so whatever. We know street code. He ain't want to talk to the police. I ain't gonna talk to the police. I was on probation. I've been on probation this whole time. So forget that part. There was a young person ran over by a car out there. By one of the bikers in the car. Matter of fact, there's another video where they almost tried to run over me anyway, but they
the person you're talking about.
Yeah, they actually ran over this person, and the police did nothing. Matter of fact, we had to take this person to the hospital. Our medics took care of this person until they got to the hospital.
And it's almost like the police treat the two groups incredibly differently.
They do. I mean, look at Castleberry. Like, it took Castleberry PD watching a Trump supporter pull out a gun on 2 women and a man before they finally was like, hey, yeah, y'all can't stand over here. He can only stand on the sidewalk. And still, what happened? The next week, another fight broke out.
They beat him with the flagpole. Yeah.
How? It's funny. These Trump supporters love beating people with an American flagpole, but you're not supposed to do that to the flag. That's not very patriotic.
I have a question. In all your time and all the protests that you've seen in Orlando that are, let's call them pro-Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter adjacent, let's say the Palestinian movement, the Palestinian protest that we've been a part of, let's talk about the trans rights protests that we've been a part of. Have you ever seen a protester aggressively start a fight with anyone?
No. And I know they haven't, because I'm that guy. That's me. Like, my motto, bro. Like, you done heard the story of me going to Atlanta and getting mad because I just traveled 6 hours and I couldn't fight a Nazi. Like, I know, because I'm the person out there. I'm not saying I'm looking for violence, but I'm anticipating it because I love it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm going to make sure you don't fight before I fight. You feel me? Because I look at it like this. I know where my hands are compared to the next man.
I think that's actually a really important point. You should talk about what happened on the way to Atlanta, that experience, because what was said to you on the way to Atlanta about you and your, let's call it, thirstiness for Nazis.
I was taught, man, that there's more than one way to fight Nazis, and it doesn't always involve your fist. And, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm still learning in this movement. I might act like I know it all, but I'm still learning. And that statement really made me step back and evaluate the situation, because, like, violence only gets you so much, and at some point in time you have to come to the table and everything has to be peaceful. I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. But yeah, like, so you have to, eventually everything has to be peaceful. Like, my motto is the way Tupac said it, I keep knocking on your door. First week, I'm hungry, can I have some food? I see you having a big party. All right. Second week, I come back. Hey, can I have some food? I see you having a big party. After like the 4th or 5th week, it's gonna go from knocking on your door to knocking on your door to kicking the door in. I mean, eventually, peaceful will only get you so far. And I forgot who said it, but in order for your movement to completely be peaceful, your oppressor has to have a heart. And as we know, our oppressor has no heart. Like, we are dealing with one of the most ruthless oppressors in history.
How many times have we walked down the streets of Paramore just to see 15, 20 cops pull up on some homeless people?
Not even that, bro. Like, I was staying on OBT. I was staying in a vacation lodge. And if you don't know where that is, that's like smack dab in the middle of Paramore, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So, I've stayed over there 3 years. I've seen more police over there than I have in the place I'm staying at now, and I wonder why. Like,
to be fair, you were a lot closer to the OPD headquarters.
that too, but that's kind of funny though. If you want to bring that up, if you go over there, you see a community that's in need. You see shotgun houses. You see stuff that's not supposed to be the way it is. Businesses are running down, but then you have this $1 billion, I don't know how much it is, but you have this brand spanking new 3-story big ass building for OPD, and it's like, I see where the money's going to. Like, literally, you remember I pointed this out to you after we had our protest. Nothing ever happened to OPD. They put a gate around the whole compound, and it's like, okay, how can you claim to be a community driven job or whatever, but you're locking out the community now?
Yeah, I mean, how much damage was done to OPD headquarters?
Wasn't no protesting damage done in Orlando. They want to say we did. Protesters did the stuff at Millennium Mall. They didn't, because you know where protesters were? We was in front of OPD. Yep. They want to say we did the stuff at Magic Mall. No, we didn't. You know where we was at this time? OPD. Where the big protesters were. I don't want to call them big protesters. Where the most people was, where the real protesters were OPD. That's on camera. Who did do the Magic Mall and Millennium Mall? The only people that know they can get away with it. The only people who knew they could get away with it, and plus they were high school kids.
So, real quick question, because you kind of, I talk a lot on my stream about what it's like physically being out there in the mud, doing the work, doing the activism, actually showing up to protests or showing up to mutual aid or showing up to whatever. I want you to color that experience a little. So for example, some of the things that people might not believe. Do you remember the bricks?
Yeah. The pallets of bricks being just dropped off. I mean, officially, what the city wanted to say is, they had nothing to do with it. It was, part of construction. But, like, truth be told, this is the middle of a pandemic. People ain't got jobs. So I know I couldn't afford a pallet of bricks. It's funny that these conservatives complain that building supplies have gone through the roof, but then expect me, someone who doesn't make, a living wage, to be able to afford a whole pallet of bricks.
Kind of interesting. Matter of fact, I would say out of most of the protesters I know, you would be the most familiar with counter protesting and showing up in spaces with heavy conservative influence. You matter of fact, you went out to CPAC. What was CPAC like?
Man, I got assaulted by a guy who looked like Luke Cage.
Oh.
He big, just like him and everything. I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of scared, guys. He pushed me, and I probably went all the way back there when he pushed me. I'm not gonna lie, this was a big guy. I didn't fight him. I played it smart. But I tell you, those are some high tense situations. And those are the situations where you see the best in people, because I say at CPAC there was no more than 10 of us, and we were surrounded 50 deep. And I seen who truly was in this movement at that point in time, because that was a time for people to break and run. That was a time for people to show true colors. But at the end of the day, these people listened to me, and I'm not no organizer. I'm not no, whatever. I was just there. And these people actually grouped up. They understood the gravity of the situation, and they didn't try to escalate it or make it worse. And in those times, those are the people you need. Because, I mean, like I said, I'm always ready for a fight, but I'm ready for a fair fight. 10 people against, I don't know how many crazed Trump supporters at CPAC would have. I don't know how that would have turned out. But I will say this, because you know me, I always give props where props due. There's one guy I never thought that would have helped us that day. And I have the video of it. It's a guy with a Confederate flag. And he stands in front of me protecting one of our people. He has the flag out like this. And I'm trying to tap him on the shoulder to tell him, hey, look, you can move. You feel me? This is my person. I don't really like you because of what you're carrying around. But this man stood there, didn't say anything, and he protected one of our own. So, like, you might be a racist, But I mean, at least you didn't want to see no one hurt. I can respect that. I can't respect the person, but I can respect the action.
I think that whereas there are a lot of, I think that sometimes we try to convince ourselves that every single conservative is a grifter. They don't really believe in what they believe. But no, I think it's more like what Noam Chomsky said, which is like, I believe that you believe what you believe. I believe it. You wouldn't be there if you didn't believe it.
Exactly.
But I just think that what you believe in is nonsense.
I look at it like this, bro. People are scared. Especially nowadays, people are scared. And what it's going to do is it's either going to break you or conform you. And you get broke, you go left. You get conformed, you go right. Come on, man. I mean, these people are complaining because their government didn't acknowledge their voters. Whatever they want to say. Bro, like, voting hasn't really represented the working class for how long?
40 odd years, longer than that. Let's say forever.
But now, just because the white people are starting to see, hey, yeah, this is what we've been going through for the longest.
It's an interesting dichotomy, right? Because on the one hand, you have Tucker Carlson on Turning Point USA literally saying things like, well, we can see what's going on. We can see the system isn't working how it's supposed to be. We can see that it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to go and work and have a family. And he names all these things. And it's like, it's interesting. You see the same issues that we do, and then he turns around and makes it about bloodlines. And
it's like, nah, bro. It's like, I feel like that's the bait and hook tactic. Like, you say stuff that people really care about, and then you just throw your 2 cents in there because you know you done got it hooked in. It's like, oh yeah, man, I'll give you $1 million, but it's all about my bloodline. Let me tell you about this first before I give you the $1 million.
Well, why don't you talk to me a little bit about? So you've experienced some pretty radical conservatives face first. What is it that you feel when you see them? Like, what is it? What is the type? Give us some characters, man.
Oh man, well, so you have the diehard racists who, basically, he's out there, and you know he's out there because he's racist. You have the confused. I never had them confused. They're just confused and scared. They're just going with the quote unquote mass to say. Then you have people who are Republicans, but they're not conservative. They're just there because this is their party. They're loyal to a party, not policies, not this. They're loyal to red. Then you have people out there that are actually trying to fight people who really want to go to war with us. Then you have some people who really think they're better than us. You were there when Buddy told me I'm beneath him.
Yeah.
Then you do have the stupid people. I'm sorry. You have the truly ignorant. Can I say that?
No, you can call them stupid. I would say that rolls for pretty much all these categories. But yeah, like the people that are out there telling us to get a job on our lunch break.
Matter of fact, the same people who do this 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Like, I had to say ignorant because, like, there's a special group. If I'm able to convince you that I went to Harvard, yeah. I mean, come on, bro. I don't look like Harvard, but if you believe I went to Harvard, hey, kudos to you.
Yeah, it seems like you're coming from a very, very limited sort of experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we talk about a lot of, like, you know, we've talked about a lot of different experiences, you interacting with the different types of supporters. What do you stand for, dude? Like, what are you out here for? Like, what changes do you want to see? I mean, fuck the theory words for it. We don't need to use communism, socialism. Like, what are you out here for, and why?
You know me, bro. You know, I catch a lot of flack for this because I'm knowledgeable, but I've never read theory. Everything I believe and I preach on is personal experiences. I feel like human housing is a right because until you're houseless, until you're houseless and you have nowhere to go after a hard day's work, you don't know how sad, how hopeless, how messed up you feel. That's the human right. Food, that's the human right. If I go work, hard labor all day, I should be able to come home and eat so I can continue to earn my living. Healthcare. If I don't get health care, I can die. I can't go to work. I'm a worker. Like, I acknowledge I'm part of the working class. My whole thing is, bro, if it's for the betterment of the working class, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Like, college, healthcare, food, child services.
And you said this is built up on personal experience. Like, is it something that you're seeing in communities as an issue?
Not even that, just my family, bro. I watched my auntie raise 5 kids on her own. Strongest woman I've ever seen raise 5 kids on her own. That shouldn't happen, bro. I don't know the whole story. I don't care to know the whole story. I just know I seen my auntie raise 5 kids on her own. You feel me? I seen my grandma, who was 65, collecting I think an SSI check. Like, come on, my grandma lived her life, and now you're basically telling her, hey, this is the chump change we can give you every month. And technically that's supposed to run out at the end of the year. Come on, look at my dad caught help. My dad used to be used to work out a lot. Caught blood clots in his leg. Bro, if it wasn't for my dad having a hospital insurance, bro, I hate to think what his bills would have been. You feel me? Coming home after my 3rd child was born and getting a doctor bill for over thousands of dollars because the mother of my child decided to have a child. Like, come on, you're taxing me because we want to repopulate. Like, these are things that shouldn't be in a just system.
And you've seen some injustice firsthand, huh?
I mean, come on, I told you what the police said when I got locked up and did my bid. I went to prison when I was 17. I robbed drug dealers. That was the life I chose at the time at 17. But when I got pulled over and I went to do my bid, the police officer specifically said, I was like, hey, why are you pulling me over? He said, look who you're walking with. It's like, you pulled me over for walking with 2 black guys? And he legit looked me in my face and said, shut up with that Johnny Cochran bullshit. And it's like, bruh, this is where I'm at. And then, if you want to talk about the police down here were stalking our pages. Like, matter of fact.
Police were making it known. I say this all the time. They literally said my address back to me.
Matter of fact, bro, the most I've ever felt scared in my life is the first day of Our Block, Our Budget last year in August. That protest when we went to Kirkman, and the police waited until we were out of sight to basically lock up anybody with a megaphone because those are the organizers. After they lock up these people, they literally follow us in cars taunting us. Bro, they literally stalked us for a 10-minute walk until we got back to our cars. That's how close we were to ending the protest. They even knew we parked our cars here, and yet they still continued to stalk us. They continued to break it up right when they did because A, it was out of sight, and B, truthfully, that's what they felt like.
Yeah. I think that's something that's really actually important is have we tried to speak to the police before?
Yeah.
Have we tried to have open dialogues with the police from before?
Yeah, I know a couple of activists that have. They don't want that. They handpick the ones they want because they want the ones that are going to say what they want. They won't let me up in there because I'm going to tell them, hey, y'all are useless. Y'all ain't never did your job.
Quick. I just want to push back on a narrative that I already know is going to be forming. Man, who are you to say anything to the police? Do you have any, like, actual policies or anything that you would suggest?
My main thing, police are quote-unquote peacekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
Police are supposed to be peacekeepers. So my thing is, y'all should keep the peace. Y'all obviously don't stop crime, you come after crime. So my thing is, you should fund services that prevent crime that have been proven. Put more money in education. Get those cops out of the school. Let them, I don't know, hey, look, I don't know what peacekeepers does, because obviously we ain't never had no peace in America. Truthfully, me personally, I don't think we need police. And I know some people might disagree with that, but at the same time, I just look at it like, bro, if you think you can reform a job that was literally built from slave captures to what it is now. I mean, you can't reform something that's operating the way it's built. What you can do is start chipping at it. Start chipping at it. Start chipping at it. Because eventually that one chip is gonna crack the whole system. And my biggest thing is go after the police union. People want to start doing. If people really want to start making impacts, go after the police union, because this police union is the reason that our cops aren't getting fired. Start going after qualified immunity so we can start suing these police officers. If people really want to make an impact, those are the two biggest things. Because it's funny that the people that hate unions support the police union so hard because they see what it does for its employees. So you take that union out, police lose a lot of coverage. Anybody who knows unions know unions protect their own. So step one, get rid of the union or get rid of qualified immunity.
I know you always say that you're not out there to come up with policies. I've heard you say, and I'm quoting you when you've said, like, I leave that to smarter people than me. But I do see you out there always trying to push things the right way. I know that you're not talking about, burning everything down. Oh wait.
Nah. That ain't me.
No, but I've seen you made some points. I think we have you on an interview talking about education with the police. We've talked about things like, for example, people shouldn't die the way Salathis Melvin died.
No, fuck no.
Go ahead, talk to us about Salathis.
I mean, I don't know if y'all heard, but Salathis Melvin was a young man killed last year in August at the Florida Mall. Basically, the police had arrested the person they wanted, let him go. Then 2 weeks later, it was a week or 2 weeks later, decided to arrest a young man who wasn't Salathis Melvin. Salathis Melvin didn't have nothing to do with this. So these young men are at the Florida Mall. As they're coming out of Dick's, 3 undercover plainclothes police officers jump out and start running after them. I mean, hey, look, 3 white men jump out and try to run after me. I'm running too. Hey, look, it's 2021 in America. If you don't understand what that means, you got to go. So as he took off running, the officer literally pulled his pistol, got down on one knee, and shot him in the back from at least 40 to 50 yards. Like, it took an effort to make that shot.
I think one of the most horrifying parts about confronting that is how long he laid there.
Not even that. What did they call him what did they call him for running?
They called him a bold... They sure as hell didn't call him a bold bread slur.
Nah, I promise you.
They called him a bold N-word for running. That's on tape. But yeah, he laid there for over 8 minutes, and it got to stare his killers in the eye as he slowly passed.
Matter of fact, then tried to render first aid horribly. They literally had this man shot in the back, and you turn him over on his back. That's not how you do that. Oh, his hands were handcuffed the whole time, so...
Yeah.
Not only is he dying, I'm pretty sure, personal experience, he was uncomfortable in his last moments, bro. And that's sick, bro. Police shouldn't be shooting somebody in the back because they run. Y'all didn't even do your job because they failed to do their job. They had the other individual locked up a week prior. Y'all let him go. I can't wrap my mind around that.
And we keep spending all this money on the police. You talk about their fancy building. I can tell you right now, I think the budget's like $178 million a year, 193, something like that. Which over the past 10 years is equal to billions. Is crime getting any better?
No. Oh, man, look, capitalism doesn't breed innovation. We just throw money at problems and hope it solves it. That's literally what we did to crime. We've not tried to fight crime since ever.
I mean, specifically, even in Orlando, I mean, you're connected to you would know. How many people have you seen murdered?
I don't seen a minute. We were living in a war zone last year, according to the feds. If you listen to the feds, there was people being shot every day. But, I mean, I will admit we had, quote unquote, there was a lot of heat last year. But if you look at the reasons for that heat, it goes back to capitalism and poverty, bro. You just had a bunch of young men that didn't have the options most people had. They took what they were given. They capitalized. couple people ended up being millionaires out of this.
This is a fact. I think that people aren't really connecting the dots to what you're saying. You and I understand what you're saying, but I want to go ahead and let's talk about this a little more, because what we're talking about is youth gang violence, and youth gang violence specifically for clout.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, them people you see on the internet flashing gang signs, flashing guns, man, them folks ain't no real gang bangers. Real G's move in silence. That's been bred into anybody who runs the street. Most people who are actually from the street don't brag about going back to the hood because they want to escape it. Like me growing up, I didn't grow up in the hood, but I grew up in the hood, if that makes sense. Like I came to the hood because I had friends and family, but I kind of grew up in the country. But at the same time, the mentality is the same. You don't want to stay there. No one's in the hood because they want to be. People want to leave. It's just they don't have the opportunities.
But this younger generation, and they do things for the TikTok and for the grams, trying to make it rich, knowing that maybe if I kill somebody on camera, I'll make it, right?
And that's the mentality it breeds, bro. I mean, point in case, look at the Island Boys. Everybody knows they're not gangster, but they're opposing as gangsters, and I'm not going to say it's working, but they're getting rich off of it. They're getting rich off of a projected image that people are actually dying for. And this isn't something that started now. This goes back to the Tupac and Biggie beef. Because it was even said then that the only people who were really stood to make money from their deaths are the record label companies. The record label companies pumped up East Coast versus West Coast. Tupac and Biggie used to be friends at one point.
Yo, and what we're talking about here is the commodification of the struggle. How many times have you seen? Matter of fact, how many organizations, to kind of dismiss some other stuff, but how many times have you seen people try to come in and commodify what we do?
All the time. I mean, TikTok is nothing but whitewash black culture. Everything on fucking TikTok. This, ice in your veins. This comes from D'Angelo Russell. The simping. They were talking about, UGK was talking about simping back in the day.
Yep.
The fuckboy face. That comes from light skin versus black skin. Because light skin, whatever. And I want to credit the person who told me this. I found this nice little video. I think the young cat is D'Angelo Wallace. I think that's his name. But it was his video that explained all this to me. And it's like, at what point in time does America want to address the fact that they want to be black but don't want to be black? Because everything that's popular in America comes from black culture. All the music, black culture. Country, rock. I mean, hell, people thought Elvis was black until they seen him on TV.
Let's talk about, because I like what we're saying here. I really would like a chance to, maybe we'll get a chance to do a live stream with you, and we'll be able to have the audience ask you some specific questions, which I think will be...
I love that.
Listen, anytime, you love anything that can get you in front of a camera, I know.
Man, you know I hate cameras, man.
But really, like, what I want to hit on here is, like, what do you got to say? Because we're going to draw this to a close. What do you got to say about your community and the movement and all? Well, like, is there anything that you can leave us with?
No, we got to do better, man. We got to do better. Like, last year, I seen so many people. I was in the streets with thousands of people, bro. Last year, I was in the streets with thousands of people. 3 months later, I was barely in the street with 10, 15 people, man. This isn't a let's do it now and never do it again thing. No, this is a lifetime commitment. If you're in this for life. Like, because, bro, if this is the world you envision leaving your children, I don't really want to be around you, because this is not a great world.
In fact, one of the things I will actually comment on that is there's a reason why it's so difficult to get the people from the communities that are affected by these policies to come out to protest these policies. And the large part is not ignorance. It's not ignorance. It's not that they don't understand what they need to do. It's that they know that when they look around at the support, that the support from the white group is only going to be there.
It's temporary.
For 3 months. For the 3 months that you mentioned. And it's mostly, college white kids.
Liberals. Not even that. I like to touch on this issue because, as we know, black communities are policed. So these communities that we do want to reach, they're scared to because these police officers are always in their neighborhood. So imagine if I'm like chilling in my neighborhood every day and I go protest the police. What is the police gonna start doing? They're gonna start fucking with me in the neighborhood.
Well, I have the privilege of the fact that I don't live in the hood, and I have a little bit of I have academia behind me, and I have connections like that. So when the police threaten me, I can stand up a little harder. When the police say my address to me, I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do? Come to my house? I don't need to worry because if they kill me, it's national news. But there are plenty of people that feel like if they're dead, if they get killed by the police, no one's gonna say a word.
Yep. And that's true, bro. Like, how many people died from the police today? We'll never hear from them. We'll never hear about it unless we look. Like I said, man, we got to do better out here, bro. Like, if people really want to bring about change, Tupac said it best, man. We got to change the way we act, change the way we eat. We got to change our lifestyles. You got to stop looking at the next man as your enemy and look at the next person as your family. Like, legit, you can't sit here and claim you want a better world when you hate your neighbor. If you're not trying to find out what your neighbor needs and help him so they can help you, it's not gonna work. Like,
is that why you started the garden?
I started the garden for a peace of mind, and for a peace of mind because, as I said, I stayed in Paramore and I moved over here, and what's crazy is no matter where the community garden is, it's always the same. Chain link fence, only a certain amount of hours you can be in there. You have to buy a plot of land to farm it. And I was like, yo, how is this a community garden when really it just sounds like a way for a bunch of rich liberals to say they did good? I just started telling people, hey, I want to plant something in my backyard. If y'all have seeds, give them to me. And I had homies give me seeds. And I was just literally just throwing seeds in the backyard, and I never thought I'd get into it. And now that I'm into it, I'm growing food to give away pretty much because, I mean, what else can I do with it? I do have a project. It's in the baby works, and I'm really excited. Hopefully, cause this summer coming up when it warms up, I'm going back home and starting a community garden in my dad's church. And then I'm also hopefully trying to turn an acre of his farm, of his land into a self-sustaining forest, so that at least I can have a community garden back home and one down here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first and foremost, bro, one thing that sticks with me is you'll never be free if you don't know how to grow your own food. If you have to buy your food from somebody, you'll never be a truly free man or person. So that's why I got in the garden. And truthfully, it's just peaceful, bro. Going out there with a book and a blunt, it's beautiful, though.
That's inspiring to hear, and you're an impressive person, dude. I don't ever want you to stop doing what you're doing. You know, I really think that, like you've said, a lot of people have disappeared, and one thing I can say is Hippie ain't going nowhere.
Nah,
so.
Nah. You know I get around. You know I like fucking with the police.
Hey, man, thanks for doing this interview, man.
Man, anytime, man. You know I'ma always support you, bro.
Hey, if my audience wants to do a Q&A day, would you be down?
Of course, man. Also follow me on all social media except Twitter. I am not on Twitter yet. I might get on there. I don't know yet. Facebook and Instagram, Hippie Malone, Hippie Malone, Malone.
Are there any organizations in the area you want to shout out?
The two most I will say is off. The Reach Party, and I have a friend named Seven. His is Lost. I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. It's I don't really know what the word is, but it's Lost. Samila. I think. I'm not too sure on the spelling. I'm horrible at pronunciations. Grassroots organizations, Off, Reach, Lost, some. There's a couple more I can't think of.
Dream Defenders, I've seen you work with.
Dream Defenders, but they're national, bro. They're well taken care of. They bonded us out. I rather, you know me, bro. I like grassroots organizations.
That's a talk for another day. Yes, we have actually bonded protesters out. This is a lie. This is what doing the work means.
Yes, We've literally sat at jails overnight and had cookouts in the parking lot.
Yeah.
If you ain't never been to 33rd at 3 o'clock in the morning and had a water fight, you ain't in this movement.
Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out?
Man, I'm always shout out my family. I love y'all. Shout out you for having me on. Shout out to all my friends in Orlando that really bless me and continue keeping me on the right path and correcting me when I step out of line or give out misinformation. I mean, my friends and family down here keep me grounded.
One of the things you said the other day, which I think is really important, which we somehow managed to not get you to say today, which was activism. One of the key parts of being an activist is making sure that you're always looking to grow.
Oh, yeah.
That you never stop trying to grow and never stop. And that's a key part of where we see these are the real activists versus like who we see that are kind of, we call them the tourists.
I mean, it's human nature to want to grow. Like, if you're an activist, you should know the history behind it. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know a good, decent bit of history and why things are, at least know why things are why they are. Mm-hmm. Like, most people don't even know how the religious right started. They don't know that's dripped in racism and taxes. Literally, the only two reasons we have the religious right today. Most people don't know that.
It's really, really true. Well, guys, there'll be many stories. We might even start a little segment we call Hippie's Corner, where a hippie will tell you the story, because he is a little bit of a historian. He does like to have his ear to the ground, so to speak, to give you stories and perspectives that maybe you hadn't heard before. Maybe this is the first time you've ever identified with somebody who...
I'm that high guy at the party that just has all the useless facts. Be like, yeah, let me tell you why you shouldn't eat chocolate. Slavery. That's the only way we can have it.
All right, hippie. Thanks. And have a good one.